Hi there, I'm Jen Cassetta, your Chief Badassery Officer. If you're feeling drained, hesitant, stuck in self-doubt, or you just have a case of the vlogs, the Art of Badassery podcast is here to help you unleash your mojo once and for all. We'll provide you with tips, techniques, and real-life examples of how you can kick ass in all areas of your life. You'll learn how to flex your mental muscles, rise above fears, and turn setbacks into superpowers. So let's enter the dojo and let's get to work. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Art of Badassery podcast. I'm Jen Cassetta, your Chief Badassery Officer, and today I have a very special guest. I have with me author Elizabeth Hamilton Guarino, master life coach, and founder of the Best Ever You Network. She's long espoused that we must redefine success for our authentic selves. A one-size-fits-all concept is not only outdated, but unworkable. Success is so much more than data or the dollars in our bank account. And I couldn't agree more. Welcome to the show, Elizabeth.
Thank you so much for having me, Jen. It's great to see you and be in the company of such a great badass.
Oh, thank you.
I love it.
So Elizabeth, you have not one, not two, but three books. You're like probably the fifth guest I've had that's had three books already published. And one of them, which we're going to talk about, two of them or one of them, we share the same publisher, and that's how we know each other.
Yeah.
Two of them are with HCI. And shout out to our people, our family at HCI. We love you. So your first book is called Percolate, Let Your Best Self Filter Through. That was with Hay House. Then the second book was the Change Guidebook, How to Align Your Heart, Truths, and Energy to Find Success in All Areas of Your Life. And now your latest, would you like to introduce your latest book to everybody?
I'll show everybody. It's the Success Guidebook. I don't know if everybody can see it, but how to visualize, actualize, and amplify you. So over on Best Ever You and in my coaching practice, I teach people gratitude, change, and success. And over again, those are the things. And we're here talking about redefining success.
Yes, and I can't wait to jump into that. But first, I do have to say that you got a testimonial for your book from Jack Canfield, author of Chicken Soup for the Soul series, which is super, super cool. He wrote, "This is a must-read for all to pursue a life that resonates with your genuine happiness while dismantling the obstacles that have been holding you back." How did you get a testimonial from Jack Canfield? That's what I want to know.
So I have a podcast called The Best Ever You Show, and he has been on my podcast multiple times and in my conferences multiple times, and just a good buddy. And he's endorsed all of my books, actually. So not just, but all of them. So he's just, I love Jack Canfield. I love the way he delivers kind of complicated information with ease. And it's digestible and relatable, and the way he talks is down to earth. And he's really a good guy. He's all about success and your success and my success. And so I kind of I tell him I copy him a little bit. I'm like, sorry, Jack, I gotta copy you a little bit, but I love him.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, if you have been digging into the world of self-help, personal development, personal growth, whatever you want to call it, there's no real new ideas out in the world. It's all recycled stuff that we've been able to embody and then put out in our own words, right? For people to relate to us. So I think we all do that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's really important to share our stories.
Yeah.
And I think that's how we do that. So we take the same information and then we apply our specific story to it.
Right.
So that and I think that's a huge healing practice as well. The more and more you share your stories, the less you feel alone and you feel like you've helped other people. And that's, I just think we're here to help each other be our best.
Like here on planet Earth.
Yeah, here on planet Earth to help each other be our best. Yeah. And so when I encounter people, I try to say this on Best Ever You too, that I hope that we encounter people with a sense of grace, elegance, compassion, collaboration, kindness, benevolence, abundance, whatever it is, those really great words that help people not leave with a bad taste in their mouth after having met you, but rather their footprint becomes stronger
Mm,
and they get a better feeling about you.
mm.
And you may have helped them in some small way, do something
Yes.
they want to do, even your smile or an act of kindness, whatever it is.
Love that. And yes, in Yellow Belt chapter of the Art of Badassery, share your story is how we bounce back a lot of times from trauma, drama, tragedy, right? We're able to share our story with folks. And when doing so, you allow, I believe, the universe to show up for you in synchronicities, in serendipities, in people and solutions showing up to your life. But if you hold everything in inside and you don't share, how can you expect the world to show up for you, right?
Oh, I think so too. Especially, like in your case, like I know you've had a hip replacement.
Yes.
And, if you had not said that, I wouldn't be telling you that, my husband had both of his hips replaced and things like that. And it's one of the scariest things that people
Mm.
have happen to them is having
Yeah.
hips replaced. Because one can leave you,
Uh,
short, one leg shorter than another. Both is scary to do at the same time. People are very afraid of that surgery.
yes.
And that
Yes.
surgery is getting better and better. So I applaud you for sharing that. And my
Mm.
husband did a little bit, but
Mhm.
not as much, not in a book or anything like that. So I wrote him into into the book. So,
Good, good.
but
And you'll see, like, I get people all over wherever I'm speaking in the country, they're coming up to me and being like, oh, this is a hip replacement too. And I'm
yeah,
building this little army of like robotic hip replacement people.
replacement. The airport security tribe.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I've already let this secret out that you can still walk through the airport security TSA check without it going off. So you
Wow,
don't,
we got to learn that a little
yeah, you
better.
just don't say anything because the titanium, I guess, doesn't set it off.
It's hilarious. Yeah, my husband always gets searched, so it's
Oh,
pretty interesting. Yeah,
interesting.
but
All right.
yeah, I don't know why.
Okay. Well, let's go into your story a little bit, Elizabeth. Like, what led you to become an author, three-time author? And when did that start in your life and kind of what were the steps that led up to that?
So way back when in kindergarten, for real, I always wanted to be an author, but we'll skip
Really?
all that because I'm 55 years old. So, but yeah, way back when have always wanted to be an author. Love that mug, by the way, you rock. But it really started. So this is a little bit sad. My father had a stroke in 2004, and he had a stroke right in the middle of the living room floor. And
Oh,
we proceeded to go through a very extensive process over the next few years of saving his life
wow.
and rehab facilities and ICU and all these things. And what really started this journey was he
Mm,
was in a rehab facility, and all these nurses got him ready for a speech therapy session. And we were down in the speech therapy area, and my mom and I were there with him, and the nurse said, "Okay, Jim, I'm going to say the alphabet. When I say a letter, you say what word comes to mind." So she said A, and he said aardvark, and my mom and I are like, "Oh God, the drugs are on board or something. I'm not sure." But then he said benevolence, courage, determination, excellence. F was a swear word. Goodness, happiness, integrity, joy, kindness, love. M was movies, and then P was and then P was platypus, and on and on and on. All this just incredible
wow.
list of inspiring words to like kind of put his foot down to say, okay, I'm going to not only live through this, but I'm going to thrive through this if I can. And
Wow.
I'm over there going, oh my God, I feel like such a goofball. I felt like such a victim to that point
Mm,
because I have life-threatening food allergies. I had
mm.
developed life-threatening food allergies, and I'm, all like, woe is me. And then I'm like, oh, wait a minute, I get it. So I took out my journal and I drew this just terrible teapot, which ended up being a coffee pot with words. So originally it was a teapot, like percolate the ABCs of life and all the words. So now it's a coffee. This whole book is a coffee metaphor, an
Love it.
extended coffee metaphor.
Love my
Um,
coffee.
Coffee and self-help and percolate and let your best self filter through. And
Mm,
that's where it started. And then I'm talking a lot, but I didn't write another book until so he passed in 2018. So he's a
I'm
stroke survivor
sorry.
for really well. He did a lot of cool things. So
Mhm.
but yes, very sad without him. And I said, what am I going to do without you? Because he
Mm.
knew. And he said, you're going to put one paw in front of the other because I love cats and
Oh, me too.
continue on. Yeah, I'm addicted to cats. You might see my cat running around here. Um, so that was that. And I wrote the Change Guidebook, and so my books always have my dad in them.
Yeah.
The Change Guidebook has my mom in them because she was really lost. They'd been married for 45 years and she was really lost without him and stuff like
Wow.
that. So navigating change is tricky,
Yes, it certainly
really,
is. And
really tricky.
I can relate. Lost my dad in 2016 and he was, I would say, my biggest cheerleader.
Yep.
And into self-help books from the 70s and 80s. So the person that got me into all of this and martial arts and health and nutrition to begin with.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's definitely challenging doing life without them. And at the same time, there's just been so much wisdom instilled in us, I can tell, you and I and everyone out there who has lost a parent, I'm sure, um, that it's there. It's still easy to tap into, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's a breathtaking moment though when you lose a parent, you know.
Hmm.
It is a real shock to carry on without them, and you
Yeah.
try and tell yourself all of those things, and for a while it doesn't even you can't even hear it, but then it eventually sort of sticks in like, okay, yes, I remember this and this and this, but for a while I was pretty lost.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but I think about him teaching us baseball. Like, so I'm in the middle of 11 kids and there's 7 girls and
What?
3 boys. Yes. We had a huge family.
Yeah.
I can remember my dad taking all of us and teaching us baseball and basketball and football and hockey and all these things. And he's like, one day it'll serve you. And I'm like, yes, it does serve me. I have 4 sons.
Oh my God.
So my kids are 22, 23, 25, 27, and 29. They all
Mhm.
played sports. One of them played professional baseball in Germany, is doing that right now, and
Mhm.
things like that. So I think about my dad a lot with all the sports he's taught. And so not martial arts, but I can actually throw a spiral football. Throw a football with a spiral.
Yeah,
And it's
yeah.
pretty hilarious.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. So back to you started this book. But were you a coach at the time? Did coaching come after? Like what was your
Yeah.
career up until then?
Well, so my career has mostly been in the financial services industry my whole
Oh,
life.
okay.
And yeah, and so I quit doing that for a while.
You
And then
pivoted.
I just stopped doing financial services, was at home with the kids and stuff like that. And when the little one got into first grade, I'm like, oh, cool. I'm going to get suited back up, healed back up, makeup on, hair on, and go out the door and go to work.
Yeah.
I'm good, and yeah, that sucked. Absolutely, it's absolutely sucked. I'm like, oh no, what do I do? One of those moments where you're like, oh, this is not all it's cracked up to be either. And I found like I could not be 6, 8, 10, or 12 people at once,
Right.
because it was like, who's going to pick up the kids and answer that phone call at work and make dinner and do
Mhm.
what? I'm just like, oh my goodness. So
I
it,
honestly just don't know
I don't know
how
how people do
women
it.
do it sometimes, you
Oh,
know?
well, my
So
husband is amazing.
good.
Truthfully, I have a husband who cooks, cleans, helps, watches kids, did change diapers, all those things. So
As it
incredible.
should be.
Yeah, exactly. And sometimes it's not. So I got lucky on that front.
Right.
But I just remember that moment of just being completely frustrated. And it was funny too, because the office I was in was 4 fighting guys.
Mm,
Like, what is
gross.
this? What
Yeah.
is this thing of 4?
Yeah.
Anyway, so I closed my door and I wrote down best ever me, best ever you. And I'm like, oh, there it is. Just in
Mm,
a real funky moment, just being like, okay, there's got to be people who feel like they need to be 40 people at once and
mhm.
are struggling with this drama of trying to take kids and work and earn a paycheck for themselves and do this or that. I mean, just all over the map.
Right.
Closed my door and quit. And I
Wow.
started the Best Ever You network right then and there. I
And
came
what does that network entail?
um everything. No. It's multimedia, personal and professional development. So
Mm,
now, you know, 15 plus years later, it's a magazine, it's a podcast with 5 million downloads. It's badass, it's
it
like
is badass.
badass stuff you have to work really, really hard at to get accomplished. It's articles, it's contributors, it's these books, it's anything people want it to be, really. And I love it. I'm so proud of it. My mom goes, that thing's got everything but the kitchen sink. I'm like, you bring it on. Let's put the kitchen sink on here.
I think that's such a great point that you brought up though. It's 15 years later. So you started with an idea
Yep.
and you put one foot in front of the other. Like what were the early days like? What was the hardest
Oh,
challenge of
oh
building
my
this
God.
empire?
That's pretty funny. So I came home from that job after quitting right on the spot, told everybody I quit, and they're like, what, kind of thing. My
Yeah.
husband's like, oh no. So I went up the street to my friend's house. We did the website. I said, I need a domain, I think was what it was called back then.
Yep.
I'm like, I'm
Yep.
like, I need this thing called a domain and a website. And she did everything for me. And I interviewed my friend from kindergarten who was
Yep.
sewing baby bibs at her kitchen table in a 6-figure business that she created for herself. And I just
Wow.
started interviewing people. Forbes Riley was my first guest on my podcast.
Mhm.
And it just kind of went from there. But I'll tell you, lots of give up moments where you're just like, oh, this is really hard.
Yeah.
This isn't that much fun. This is way more husband funded than I want this to be. This is, it was tough. And I had one guy call me at one point, who said, you've got a domain that is mine. And I'm like, I do I, kind of really mean phone call. He called me out of the blue and he's like, yeah, I own everything best on the internet. And I'm like, well, I guess you're down one because I've got it. And then he goes, you're nothing but a washed up 40-year-old soccer mom. You suck. And, screaming at me. And I'm
Wow.
like, yeah, it was really, really mean. And I'm like, I went, this is all I could think to say. At the moment I went, dude, my kids don't even play soccer. hung up. And then I went and I did the most badass thing I could think of, which was register that domain for like 25 years
Good. Good for
and
you.
double down on it, but
Yeah.
it was a very intimidating phone call
Yeah.
out of the blue and things
Oh, I
like
bet.
that. And it really was off-putting. Yeah,
Yeah, there was a quick story. There was a time early on when my corporate name, like my business name, is actually Health and the City. And of course, I did this around the time that Sex and the City was popular. I was living in New York at the time, and I just thought it was the coolest name ever. So I registered for a trademark, and I keep getting postcards in the mail. And again, this is probably 2005. I don't know. Kept getting postcards, physical postcards in the mail from a home box office and in some legalese, and I wasn't understanding it. So I would just toss them in the garbage can, toss it in the garbage can, toss it in the garbage can.
yeah.
Until finally my phone, like actual phone on the desk, rang, and it was a lawyer from HBO. And that was the first time that I put together that home box office was HBO. Basically trying to send me a cease and desist for registering my trademark. And I said, absolutely not. I'm going to fight
Good
this
girl.
with my $0 to
Yeah.
hire a lawyer. I went to the press, and the Wall Street Journal picked it up. The next thing you know, the New York Post picked it up. There's a full-size picture of me in my martial arts uniform. And it was like HBO battles, or, David and Goliath story, essentially, where HBO is this giant and this little martial arts girl. And I won because they left me
Good.
alone finally.
Yeah.
Anyway, just all to say out there to remind everyone, there are unlimited possibilities in the universe of how to overcome challenges, whatever they are, big or small, it doesn't matter. There are ways that you can't even imagine how they can come true.
Yeah.
That's what I'm living right now.
Mic drop right there. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I couldn't agree with you more. But yeah, it's very frustrating when things happen like that to you, when you're
Yeah.
trying to do things from home and start a business and you've got all these almost naive good intentions about you. You're not sitting there looking yourself at everybody else's competitors. You're like, come on and help me do this. And then
Right.
somebody does that. So it's definitely throws you for a loop. And I've
Yeah.
had that happen a couple times now where somebody tried, I hired somebody to do the website and they tried to hold it hostage like it was theirs. I'm
Mm,
like, no. So I've just learned over the years
yeah.
to what to do and what not to do and stuff like that. So,
Great. Let's talk about success and defining success, because I love the word success. I'm all about it. I want to be more successful. And anytime I find myself saying that, the coach inside me and other wise people in my life will automatically say, well, how do you define success?
yeah.
So tell me about that.
Good luck with that. Yeah, I always say, how's that working out for you? Trying to define success. It's such a personal word and we treat it like it's not. We treat it like, just I did this. I wrote a chapter in the book about Taylor Swift.
Mm,
We went to Gillette night one. My husband got, qualified to go in and Ticketmaster and get random tickets and all that stuff, but
cool.
if that's if that's your success benchmark, you're going to always feel like a failure, for example, so we need
Yeah, do
to,
not compare yourself to Taylor
please
Swift.
don't, but or do and make it and make it realistic and push you harder to do your dreams and goals and be open-minded and things like that, like in that regard. But it's a tricky word, and it's not about dollars, it's not about analytics, it's not about, and I realize I'm don't have blinders on here. I realize in some cases it very much is.
Hmm.
But for our purposes, what I would like to do is help people start feeling enough so
Hmm.
that we understand our worth, we understand our value, and we hold that in high regard no matter where we are or what we're doing.
Mm.
Or you can't take phone calls like that guy who called me, the
Yeah.
worst thing ever. I would have crumbled,
Yeah.
and been like, "Oh, I'm sorry, here, have it," or whatever. So we've got to really have conversations around this. There's some good books that have come out and are coming out on this in addition to mine. And I think what's different about my book is it's a master class in success. So all my books are master classes for the cost of a book. You don't have to pay a penny more, and you
Right.
get a certification. And the way I write my books, they're all structured the same way as narrative from me. And then there's two contributing stories. So there's actually 20 people who show up in the book and talk about that factor of success or that point of change. And then there's two exercises at the end of each chapter.
Love that. I love
So
an interactive book.
I really do too. And I love it when other people show up so if you read both of my books, the Change Guidebook and the Success Guidebook, you will know 40 people that
Mm.
are on your side. You
Love
could
that.
connect with them in LinkedIn even and say, "Hey, I read your story in the Change Guidebook or the Success Guidebook,"
Mhm.
and it's an instant welcome.
I love that. So with the Success Guidebook, you have 10 guidelines in there.
Yeah.
Would you be willing to share a couple of those with us, your favorites?
Yes. Yeah, well, oh my gosh, that's like picking which child is your favorite, but I think I'd like to talk about believe. So believe is chapter 2,
Okay.
and that is, in order to redefine success, we need to keep believing in ourselves, which is sometimes tricky. And
Hmm.
in this chapter, two of my favorite people in the world show up. One is my son, Cam Guarino, who is a baseball player. And the other is Coach Edwin Thompson, who's the head coach of Georgetown University baseball, who our son Cam played for.
Oh, cool.
And they take over the chapter. Their stories of how they came to be, meet, play, and take Georgetown to the most historic season it's ever had. Team 153 went to places that no other team in Georgetown history has gone.
Hmm.
And they take over that chapter, and it's all about believing in yourself, especially in the moments where the naysayer has come around to tell
Right.
you that you suck or are bad or should give up or shouldn't do it and all this stuff. And
Hmm.
it's a powerful chapter about picking somebody up when they don't feel so great,
Hmm.
picking yourself up when you don't feel so great, and helping another human being succeed in the
Yeah,
way that they're dreaming and wanting and so forth. Because Coach Thompson's motto is dream big.
I love it.
Imagine having a coach around you that tells you to dream big instead of, like, sometimes you get a hold of a high school coach or even another college coach who says, you can't do that.
Right.
You're not as good as you think you are, or whatever, what all the crap that gets said to you
Hmm.
from people. And
Like
he,
Ted Lasso's was Believe.
yeah, exactly. So yeah, I had somebody else say that to me. They're like, "Mom," it was Quaid actually. That's our youngest son. He's like, "Yeah, you put a little Ted Lasso in there." I'm like, "I guess I did."
Yeah, Believe. The
Believe.
best coach ever.
Yeah.
Um, Love that. I want to just say this that for my life anyway, and if you relate to this, other people listening as well, let me know. The older I've gotten, I feel like the person that puts me down the most is not someone out there, but it's me. It's
Yeah.
right, the person in our own head. So, um, do any of the other guidelines point to that?
Yeah, that belief chapter is right there supporting
Okay.
that as well. And it continues from there. But imagine is the very first chapter of the book, and that's all about, what we're thinking internally and what we're going to do and not do and things like that. But yeah, those two chapters cover that perfectly. And
Right.
it goes from there into, focusing on what you're doing, and it ages with you even if you want to. There's chapters in there about adjusting to success and sustaining success.
Hmm.
The contributors range in age from 14 to 85.
Oh, great.
Yeah. So, and Olympian Mitch Gaylord is in the book.
Hmm.
Actress Tina,
Swimmer? Was he a
he's a
swimmer?
gymnast.
Gymnast,
Former
thank you.
gymnast, yep. And then actress Tina Sloan is in the book. And it goes on all the way to the end of the book, which is celebrate.
Mm,
And what we mean right there isn't like, go to the bars and party hardy.
mhm,
What we mean right there, yeah, is
yeah,
to celebrate our small wins. And I
yeah.
call it success stacking,
Mm,
where you get those little successes and they combine into, wow, what just happened? That's so cool. That just happened. One of those moments.
yeah.
And there's a pretty good toast to you at the end of the book
Mm.
and things like that. So yeah, but it you can run an idea through each of the books and it will navigate you through what you're thinking.
Oh, okay. Well, that
Yeah,
sounds fantastic. And it's out in the world. I have to get myself
it
a
is.
copy.
It just came out in June, like the middle of June. And yeah, but both books, so like if you want to navigate a change, that's a change guidebook.
Hmm.
And the Success Guidebook picks up kind of right there. Like it assumes you know how to navigate change, but there's a refresher course in it as well. If you forget
Okay,
how to navigate change, we go through those steps again because there's a lot of change in success and a lot of success in change.
mm,
So they're intertwined a little bit. But if you're going to pick up both books, start with the Change Guidebook and then go to the Success Guidebook. But you
great.
can read them either way if you want. But yeah.
And through this work, have you been able to define your own success?
Mm, yes. I kind of define it as a smile,
Mm,
as the smile that is on other people's faces, on my own face. It's sort of the peace that you feel in your heart. And I agree with you, as you get older, it gets a little calmer.
mm,
It gets a little bit more methodical, gets a little more peaceful. You can, I want to say, pick and choose, maybe.
yeah,
Not, I think if you asked me this question if I was 20, I might have a different answer and I might be trampling all over people to get what I want and tell
right.
you that money's the most important thing in a house and a car and paying off my student loans and all that stuff. So I think perspective is really important too. And that respect for perspective and different ages,
Mm,
because success is really difficult to define depending on who you are, where you are, what age you are, what you want to do, and all these things. So if it makes you peaceful
mhm.
and you've got a tribe around you that is going to help you succeed, there's no naysayers involved and things like that, start there. And you'll just right there, that's great success.
I love that. So everyone out there, I would love for you to define what success means to you. And if we can just um advise or guide you to open it up past just dollars or data or analytics or followers or likes or anything kind of outside of, of you really. So how
I'll
can
give you
we get,
another example if
yeah.
you want. So again, I'm a person who has life-threatening food allergies. I have a medic alert on and I carry epinephrine and all those things. And I have 4 life-threatening food allergies on board that I developed in my late 20s after a pregnancy.
Oh,
And
really?
they're with me and they're not going away. And so I've had to learn to deal with them over the years and things like that. And one of the ways I benchmark mark success is just in breath alone.
Mm, wow.
Just the things, really important to root in gratitude
Hmm.
and root in the things that you take for granted,
Yeah.
like breathing. The second example I have of that is my eyesight. I have some very bad eyesight. I've
Mhm.
had it on board with me since I was in 3rd grade. I've worn
Yeah.
glasses and or contacts since 3rd and 6th grade.
Hmm.
And like it's negative like 950, 10 in each eye.
Hmm.
So, I'm pretty thankful that we have glasses and contacts and things like that. Simple little things like that.
Right.
When you turn around and just say, I'm just simply grateful for that,
Hmm.
that is a little success stack.
Right.
Yeah.
Success. I love that. So gratitude, success, how it combines.
Yeah.
And gratitude is just a great practice to bring us back to the present moment, right?
Oh, gratitude is so awesome because if you do this practice too, instead of saying like, oh, I've got to go do that.
Right.
Oh, I've got to go, whatever it is. If you just flip, so in the book I write this, if you flip that around to I get to go do that instead of I have to go do that, you'll see it floating around in the internet. I'm
Yeah.
happy to see that going viral because that's from the Success Guidebook. So
Hmm.
instead of, oh God, I got to go do that or whatever, I get to go do that.
Yeah,
That is a totally different energy.
completely.
And yeah, I will catch myself when I'm thinking about cleaning the house.
Mm.
Like,
Yeah.
oh, I have to go clean the house. And
Yep.
then I go, wait a minute, wait a minute, wait a minute. I get to go clean the house. I'm like, oh, yay, this is fun. Not really, but yeah.
Yeah. Well,
It
every day
totally changes it.
that we can breathe, that we can see, every day that we're above ground is a day that we get to live our lives. Yes.
Yes, and I almost started the book out like that. I toned it down.
Mhm.
I almost started it like the worst day you're ever going to have in your life is when you, and then I'm like, that's too much. I toned it down, backed off of that stance. But yeah, a little bit of that, especially, if you have some experience along those lines where you've been resuscitated a couple times like I have,
Yeah.
you know what that feels like, it sounds like, looks like, and is. And you go, oh, okay. And then where it really sunk in, and I don't know if this is true for you, but when my father passed away,
Hmm.
it made everything material seem so just material
Hmm.
for a really long time. I'm like, wow, I really don't care what shoes I have on. I don't,
Hmm.
it was funky. And
Yeah.
I'm sure that was a little bit of depression talking and things like that, but a little bit of reality too. I was like, wow, the things that were important to me before he passed away
Hmm.
weren't.
Yeah. No, there's definitely lasting
Changed.
effects from grief. And I think
Yeah.
that's definitely one of them. And it hasn't gone away for me. I mean, to a certain
Yeah,
extent, but
I get it. Yeah.
stuff is stuff. Stuff is material.
Yeah.
I try not to attach to stuff. And really also relationships. I just felt like relationships were very surface,
Yeah.
um, fade away more quickly, after losing my dad. So I don't know if that's true for you as well, but
Yeah, it is. And this book, Percolate,
hmm.
this book is widely used in the ER waiting rooms and
Mm.
in the ICU waiting rooms,
Wow.
because it tackles the topic of grief and loss. And
Mm.
it's written with Dr. Katie Eastman, who is one of the foremost authorities on the topics of grief and
Oh,
loss in our
wow.
country. Yeah, so
Wow.
yeah,
Okay,
Dr.
everyone.
KatieEastman.com. She'd be a great guest for you. She's a lovely human being, and she helps people recreate their life after loss.
Yeah.
Really, really neat lady.
I'd
Yeah.
love to have her on.
Yeah.
I'd love to talk about grief.
Okay.
I enjoy actually talking about death now, so that's another thing too, which is weird. But
Yeah, it's good.
um
I always say that to him, like, what's wrong with me?
yeah,
But it heals, and it also connects you with other people who
yes.
understand that feeling, because I don't think people get it. I mean, I
Yeah.
really don't. I mean, I came back from Minnesota. My parents were in Minnesota, and so when my dad died, I was going back and forth between Maine and Minnesota.
Mm,
Came back, was packing for his funeral actually, and I went up to the grocery store and I was bawling over the pears.
yeah.
I mean, bawling. I'm like, they're great pears. I just was
Yeah.
crying in that moment, whatever caught me. And this lady, I still don't know who this was, Jen. I was
Mm.
like, who is this? She came up to me. I'm 5'3" and a big hair day, and she was shorter than I am. And she was older, and she said, "Can I give you a hug?"
Aw.
And this is before COVID. This is
Mhm.
2018. And I said, "Oh, please, yes." And she gave me a hug and she goes, "Oh, sweetheart, which one of your parents just passed away?" And I'm like,
Oh my
"Oh my God,
God.
how do you know that?" And she goes, "The look on your face and the way you are is unmistakable." And she
Oh.
gave me a hug in that moment, said, "It's going to be okay." And she goes, "You're going to carry on." And my dad said, "Carry on." And Sally Huss says, "Carry on." And all these things in my life. Everybody says, "Carry on."
Mm.
And I go, I have no idea who that was to this day. I'm like, was that
Wow.
like an angel
Yeah.
or like,
Yep.
I have no idea who that was.
I
I've
love
gone
that.
back so many times to try and find out who that was.
Oh.
But isn't that neat in that moment?
Yes. Carry
Yeah.
on. I love that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry,
Well, with
going on.
that said, nope, that's okay. Like I said, I love talking about death, dying, grief,
Yeah.
all of it. So
Oh, you'll love Katie.
yeah, I'm gonna have
She's the
Katie
guest
on.
for you.
Yeah. Um, and yeah, let's move on from death.
Yeah, yeah.
With my four rapid fire questions. Are you ready for them?
I hope so.
Okay, good. They're nice and easy, I promise. The
Okay.
first is, when you were a kid, what was your favorite childhood food?
Oh, goodness. Oh, always, this is going to be dumb though. Always beef jerky. Isn't that stupid? That's the honest answer.
Yep.
You got my
All good.
mom on here, she'd go beef jerky.
All
Absolutely
good.
100% beef jerky. That's so strange though.
Second is, if you were to have a drink with anyone, the person could be alive or dead, who would it
Oh,
be and what would be your drink?
oh, George Burns.
Mm.
As a child, I just was like, I need to meet this person. I never got to.
Yeah.
The other human being would be Tommy Lee Jones
Okay. But
for some
George
reason,
Burns,
but
first
George
answer.
Burns, yeah.
With what drink?
Oh, I wouldn't know what he would drink. Probably just water. No,
Okay.
probably beer. Yeah, probably beer. Yeah, I
A
don't
beer.
drink very much, so probably just, whatever.
Okay. And then third is what's your favorite self-help book? Not
Oh,
including
yeah,
yours.
not including that'd be the Success Principles by Jack Canfield. Hands down.
Ah,
Yeah, I have
okay.
that. That book is like this thick
Wow.
and I have it memorized.
Oh, wow.
I
Okay.
mean, like pretty much memorized. So, yeah,
Awesome.
I'm a really big fan. But, I'm a big fan of everybody's books. Honestly, I get a lot of books my way and I put them all up on besteveryou.com. I support all authors.
Oh,
So
sweet.
if you have a self-help book and you want some PR that's free, come to me. I'll put it up on besteveryou.com. We do radio shows, whatever it is, because I
Awesome.
know how hard it is to write a book and
Mhm.
how hard it is to find readers for
Yes.
your book. To
Yes. Yes.
actually
Yes.
have the book sell is very tricky and things. So,
Yeah.
yeah, so support your self-help authors.
Love it. And then last but not least, what's your favorite hype song?
Oh, my favorite hype song. That's Taylor Swift, The Man.
Okay. Awesome. Awesome. We haven't had her yet. So perfect. Perfect
Yeah.
way to end. Elizabeth, thank you so, so much for sharing your wisdom, your grace, your stories with us. Let everyone know where we can connect with you.
Just besteveryou.com, or I'm very active in social media. My name, Elizabeth Hamilton Guarino, or besteveryou. Or you can always email me, elizabeth@besteveryou.com.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much again. And thank you everyone out there for listening. Go ahead and think about success on your own terms. Shout us out on social media and let us know how you liked this podcast. Remember to subscribe and leave a review if possible. Thanks so much and stay badass.